So I probably make the lousiest tutorials when it comes to machine learning and stuff because it seems that I'm all over the place. And to kind of not disappoint, this is what I'm actually doing today. So brace yourselves. Um, Today we're going to look briefly into AI21 Studio. This is actually another service very similar to GPT-3. It currently has two models that you can work with. This is J1-Jumbo large 178 billion parameters and J1 large 7.5 billion parameters. So let me just make sure that I'm actually recording here. Yes, AI21 Studio is the first, I would say, public, sort of like public service similar to OpenAI's GPT-3. Now, OpenAI GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters, and this one has 178 billion parameters. So I'm actually this. I have not played with this. This is the first time. I've actually have not played with OpenAI Codex, for example, because the only times that I've actually looked into OpenAI's Codex were the ones that I've made the videos on the channel. So it's hard for me to actually um, stay updated with everything that happens because every day you're seeing something new. 2 days ago we had OpenAI Codex, and I haven't actually looked into it too much, aside of the fact that I was doing videos on it, and more videos are to come. I yesterday I've seen this one coming out, and I'm really excited about it. And it has 178 billion parameters, and you can start playing with it today. You do not have to be on a waiting list like OpenAI. GPT-3, you can just go to studio to AI21.com and sign up for an account. And um, I don't think you can copy my API key, but anyways, if you copy, I'll just rotate it. You have 10,000 tokens per day, and if they have the same thing with tokens as GPT-3, it would actually mean that per 1,000 tokens you can generate around 750 words. In this case, per 10,000 tokens you would be able to generate 7,500 words per day for free. I've asked them about what happens when you run out of them. Can you actually pay for more tokens? And so far, I haven't got a reply. Maybe because it's the weekend and I'm actually the only one who's on the computer here. Anyways, and you also have 30,000 tokens for J1 large, which is 7.5 billion parameters. So you have the documentation here. You can look into the documentation. You also have the release paper. So what's this? Usage quotas. When you generate a completion, so 10,000 tokens a day for J1-Jumbo. Custom models enjoy a higher daily quota by default, which can be increased to your needs. So I'm actually going to apply for a custom model. For example, 10 tokens, 3 completions. To avoid generating unnecessary. Anyways, not much about it. Generating text via the API. So the documentation is like pretty thin so far. You have the community. They are on Discord here. 25 people online right now. So go live with custom models. They actually emphasize this. So they actually emphasize for you to apply for a custom model, and I'm actually going to apply for a custom model in the near future, maybe tomorrow if I have the time. If there is not another model that's going to steal my attention right now. Okay, so we have very similar interface compared to GPT-3. What we do not have here is the um, frequency penalty and presence penalty. And in the documentation, I don't see any of that. The string representation and log props. So top K returns. This is for the probabilities. Let's see. Frequency. Nothing on frequency. So in this case, the frequency that I'm talking about is when it comes to the model being repetitive. Maybe they control for that. I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked into it too much. But let's actually, and as you can see, you have a few presets here. Explain a word. What does the word ink means? What does the word this means? So this is actually few shot learning because you're showing the model what you want it to complete, and then the model is going to complete it. And as you can see, the preset actually says the configuration in this case. Why it's 0.98 and not 1? Don't ask. Dejargonizer. The following sentences contain busy jargon. What's this quick start?
Welcome to AI21 Studio. Using AI21 Studio, you can interactively query our Jurassic 1 language model.
Yeah, so you might want to look into that. Predict the outcome. That's interesting. Classify new topics. Generate code. Generate code. Is this going to actually compete with Codex? Write a Python program that calculates the sum of squares of all positive integers between 2 and 3. Let's generate this. So in this case we have, this is called, is this called a, no, I wanted to say it's called a list comprehension, but it's not, because you this actually uses the sum in Python, which is already predefined as a function, and then it has a parameter x for x in range 2. This is sort of like a one-liner for a for loop, so really interesting. Write a Python program that calculates the sum of squares of all positive integers between 2 and 13. Let's see if this works actually. So Python 649 probably works. Summarize restaurant reviews. This is, I don't know who actually finds this useful. Probably, of course, not me. But anyways, going back, what I wanted to say that there's also so AI21studio.com. If you go here, you can read their paper. Where's the paper? Where's the white paper? It's probably here in this blog post. Check out our white paper. So I'm very critical of this white paper. I don't even know, it only tells us very little about the model. It doesn't tell us what's the data that's been used for. I mean, what's the data that's been trained on? It only says here. So if you guys listen to me, this is not, if AI21 is looking to this, this is not transparency. What you're doing here This is not being transparent. You're putting up a paper of 9 pages and you're saying our model was trained with the conventional self-supervised autoregressive training objective on 300 billion tokens drawn from publicly available resources. So you either tell us everything or don't tell us nothing, but just don't do this. Publicly available resources attempting in part to replicate the structure of the training data as reported by this paper, which is language few shot models. Yeah, the very big GPT-3 paper. Language models are few shot learners, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, this one. Language models are few shot learners. Yeah, so don't tell us this. Give us a. I mean, if you want to say. So I highly appreciate the fact that you're giving this stuff for free, but tell us more about what's the data that's been trained on. I don't want to try to actually find out from the model itself because I think you could sort of like find out what the model knows from actually trying to engineer a prompt, and we might be looking into this in future videos, trying to actually get a hold of the data by trying to see what's most recent events, sort of like nudge the model into giving us information about its training data. Anyways, so we looked into yeah, so if you're interested, look into the paper. I don't think the paper is really relevant in terms of giving us a lot of stuff about how this was put up, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I haven't looked into the blog posts, but I may be looking into them in future videos. So, anyways, blog post ideation, not interesting. Sports trivia, I don't know who finds this interesting. Convert text to table, I don't know. Table question answering, what's this useful for? Product description generator, maybe. Python to JavaScript, openness classifier. Yeah, so presets, I don't know. Generate catchy headlines. So let's clear everything and do one of my favorites. They call it canvas. GPT-3 calls it playground. Let me just refresh this, make sure everything is refreshed. So, the maximum number of tokens to generate. J1 models have a capacity of 2048 tokens in total, both the prompt and the generated completion. This is 2300 to 2500 English words on average. So we have this temperature set to 0.7. Let's do 0.5 because I want the model. Increasing temperature tends to result in more varied and creative completions, whereas decreasing it produces more stable and repetitive completions. Temperature of 0 effectively disables random sampling and makes the completion deterministic. Of course, depending on the data that you've been trained them on, but since we don't know the data that you've been trained the model on, deterministic is like a very loose term. Anyway, let's make it even more lower. What I want to do is see how it deals with factual data. And let's actually try to nudge the model into telling us so 14 minutes in, and I'm actually gonna finish this video in a moment. So let's actually see if the model gives us more insight into its training by saying a list of 10 most recent books on personal development. 1. Let's see. 203 completions. And the model is extremely repetitive. The 7 habits of highly effective people. Let's reduce the temperature to 0.1. Extremely repetitive. Okay, so this is clearly a very bad start. Let's leave the temperature to 0.7. And let's say a list of 5 most recent books on personal development. Yeah, so Jumbo top. So this is the 178. Trying to make sure I'm doing stuff right here. A list of 5 most recent books on personal development. Why does it append end of text here? 7 habits, highly effective people. Well, the thing is that it does give you the correct name of the books, sort of like, but these aren't too like recent. Let's say on personal finance, delete everything. Okay, so I have to actually experiment more with this to try to see. Yeah, so it's interesting. You don't have an option to um, control for presence penalty and frequency penalty, or I might not know of it. But in this case, as you can see, the model seems to be a bit repetitive. And yeah, let me see if I can get into the GPT-3 playground. Run the same query here. With the same. So I'm with Da Vinci. Let's say how many? 70. We have the temperature to 0.7, top P to 0.1. Frequency penalty and presence penalty, we'll just leave it at 0. The millionaire next door. The index card. So yeah, with frequency and presence penalty both at 0, which I'm surprised, Da Vinci gives us a different output. I'm not even sure if this book exists. Let's do a web search. Search Google for this. Seems to be why personal finance doesn't have to be complicated. Interesting. So Da Vinci gives us, in my perspective, a better um, response with the same parameters. Let's look into Da Vinci Instruct Beta, which would be better fit for this completion. Yeah, and with the frequency penalty and presence penalty to zero, DaVinci Instruct Beta seems to get a slight bit repetitive, but Millionaire Mind, Millionaire Next Door, I don't even think this one exists, but let's see. It doesn't. So yeah, in this case, DaVinci Instruct Beta doesn't do a good job either because it comes up with titles that don't exist. In this case, a Jumbo J1 seems to be so the million next door. Search Google. The Surprising Secrets of America's Wealthy by Thomas Jane Stanley. So it actually does a good job in coming up with existing real titles. And what's next? So for the richest man in Babylon, what if we click on generate again? It does the same thing. So, and then it actually goes into the intelligent investor, starts talking about it. What if we keep on doing the generation? And more? Is it gonna go to the second book, maybe? No, it actually starts talking about Benjamin Graham. Anyways, this is interesting. I think AI21 has a lot of potential. I think they've done a great job with their models. The fact that they allow entry and access to a lot of people to them. We don't know much about the models, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe they're gonna be a bit more transparent, but of course this is their decision. I'm grateful that they gave us access. Curious to see what the tokens are gonna be about. Like, can I pay for more tokens without actually fine tuning a model? Can I just pay for this bare bone, uh, not fine tuned models? So yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually going to experiment. Let's see how many tokens have I actually. 1400 so far per 10,000. So yeah, this is the first look at the Studio AI21 J1-Jumbo 178 billion parameters, and I'm looking to do more videos about it in the future. So yeah, that's that.